I disagree with you. The Trump tax cuts blew up our federal deficit.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site.
The United States Senate got together, came up with a border security bill. Donald Trump got word that this bill was afoot and could be passed, so he told his buddies in Congress, kill the bill, don't let it move forward.
How close do you think Iran is to developing nuclear weapons?
I think they're close. I think they're close. They're too close.
Started with your administration.
Correct.
But there was an historic flood of undocumented immigrants coming across the border the first 3 years of your administration. As a matter of fact, arrivals quadrupled.
And why say that you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do. Not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions.
First up, guys, CBS News just handed over the unedited 60 Minutes transcript of Kamala Harris' disastrous interview. But instead of admitting their deception, they're doubling down in a way that exposes something way bigger than just one media cover-up. Then a very shocking mid-air collision near Washington, D.C. has left 67 people unalive, but new details suggest a massive oversight that the media just does not want you asking about. Meanwhile, Trump just sent a chilling message to Iran, revealing secret instructions that he left behind just in case of his assassination. And guys, let's just say Tehran is not going to like what he has planned for them. And in a move that will send the left into just a complete meltdown, Trump is set to sign an executive order banning biological men from women's sports. But here's a twist. No one saw this one coming. All right, stick around, guys, because we are cutting through the noise. I got a lot to share with you guys. Appreciate you guys hitting the like button. Thank you so much for sharing this video. Let's jump in.
As I said then, I maintain Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed.
CBS is now scrambling after getting caught red-handed manipulating Kamala Harris' 60 Minutes interview. This is a move that triggered a $10 billion lawsuit from President Trump. The network has quietly handed over the unedited transcript to the FCC, but instead of owning up to its deception, 60 Minutes executive producer Bill Owens is doubling down, refusing to apologize for their blatant media malpractice. Now, this is exactly the kind of biased, agenda-driven reporting that Trump has exposed for years, where the mainstream media distorts the truth in order to protect weak Democrat leaders like Kamala Harris. CBS's selective editing was nothing more than an attempt to cover up Kamala Harris's infamous word salad problem, proving once again that the left's media machine will go to any length to prop up their failing candidates. And while ABC News had to cough up about $15 million to settle a similar case, CBS is now trying to play hardball, despite the undeniable evidence to their journalistic fraud. Meanwhile, Trump appointed FCC head Brendan Carr, he's making sure that the truth comes to light. But of course, the liberal media, they're crying foul, calling CBS's compliance with the law rolling over. The reality? This is just another chapter in Trump's ongoing battle to hold the corrupt media accountable. And once again, the left is just way too emotional to see the writing on the wall.
This is a Fox News alert. Trump's nominee for Attorney General Pam Bondi was just confirmed by a vote of 54 to 46. Joining me now, Chris Bedford, author of Beltway Brief. Chris, the lone Democrat to vote for Bondi was Senator Fetterman of Pennsylvania. It's frankly despicable that more Democrats didn't vote for her. She's eminently qualified for this job, which once again shows you that this is about politics with the minority party right now.
Whereas you compare to Biden's picks, all of his cabinet picks up through this week of February 2021, only 2 Republicans voted against all of them. That is Senator Ted Cruz and Josh Hawley, neither of whom were ranking members at the time or committee chairs at the time. Now, if you look at it, there are a dozen Democrats, including ranking members and powerful Democrats who pretend to ask serious questions of nominees, who have voted against every single one of Donald Trump's nominees.
So Pam Bondi is stepping into the role of U.S. Attorney General. And let's be clear, this is a major win for law and order and a huge problem for the left. In fact, despite relentless Democratic obstruction, Trump's pick sailed through confirmation, proving once again that he knows how to pick the winners. Pam Bondi, she's tough as nails. She's a tough as nails prosecutor, and she's not here to play political games. She's here to clean up the mess that the DOJ and the FBI have become under weak Democratic leadership. Now, of course, the left is already panicking because Pam Bondi's confirmation comes right as Trump is already taken some pretty bold action, pardoning 1,600 January 6 defendants and shaking up the very agencies that went rogue against him. And while the media is framing this as some dangerous purge, let's be real, guys. The DOJ and the FBI, they've been weaponizing against conservatives for years. And Trump is just finally restoring the balance. And the fact that the FBI agents are now suing to try and stop internal reviews, this pretty much tells you everything you need to know, right? They're scared of what Bondi and they're scared of what Trump will uncover. Democrats, as always, they're reacting emotionally. They're screeching about politicization while ignoring the fact that the DOJ was already turned into a partisan attack machine under Biden. But Bondi, she's not budging. She's already proven that she can work across the aisle, and even some Democrats admitted that she was the right choice. And so now she's bringing her no-nonsense Florida playbook to Washington, D.C. She's cracking down on the drug trafficking, the fentanyl smuggling, and of course, the crime waves that the left refuses to acknowledge. So bottom line here really is this is Trump's DOJ now. And with Pam Bondi in charge, the deep state is already, they have every reason to be terrified.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it and be responsible for dismantling all of the dangerous unexploded bombs and other weapons on the site, level the site and get rid of the destroyed buildings, level it out, create an economic development that will supply unlimited numbers of jobs and housing for the people of the area. Do a real job, do something different. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I'm hopeful that this ceasefire could be the beginning of a larger and more enduring peace that will end the bloodshed and killing once and for all. With the same goal in mind, my administration has been moving quickly to restore trust in the alliance and rebuild American strength throughout the region. And we've really done that. We're a respected nation again. A lot's happened in the last couple of weeks. We are actually a very respected nation again. I ended the last administration's de facto arms embargo on over $1 billion in military assistance for Israel. And I'm also pleased to announce that this afternoon, the United States withdrew from the anti-Semitic UN Human Rights Council and ended all of the support for the UN Relief and Works Agency, which funneled money to Hamas and which was very disloyal to humanity. Today, I also took action to restore a maximum pressure policy on the Iranian regime, and we will once again enforce the most aggressive possible sanctions, drive Iranian oil exports to zero, and diminish the regime's capacity to fund terror throughout the region and throughout the world. We had no threat when I left office. Iran was not able to sell oil. Nobody was buying oil because I said, don't buy it. If you buy it, you're not doing any business with the United States. And Hamas was not being funded. Hezbollah was not being funded. Nobody was being funded. There would never have been an October 7th. 2 weeks ago, I once again designated the Houthis as a terrorist organization. They're trying to destroy world shipping lanes, and that's not going to happen. And over the weekend, I ordered airstrikes against senior ISIS leaders hiding in Somalia, and took them out. Here in America, we've begun the process of deporting foreign terrorists, jihadists, and Hamas sympathizers from our soil, just as we have people that are extremely evil, and we're sending them out of our country. They came from jails. They came from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they were dumped into our country. They're gang members. We're getting them out at numbers that nobody can actually believe. And every single country is taking those people back. They said they would never take them back, and they're all taking them back, and they're taking them back very gladly. And I recently signed an executive order combating the vile wave of anti-Semitism that we've seen in the aftermath of the October 7th attacks. Together, America and Israel will renew the optimism that shined so brightly just 4 years ago. It was really a bright, beautiful light. We will restore calm and stability to the region and expand prosperity, opportunity, and hope to our nations and for all people of the Middle East, including the Arab and Muslim nations. Very important. We want the Arab and Muslim nations to have peace and have tranquility and have great lives.
Once again, President Trump is proving that he is the ultimate deal maker, thinking beyond the weak, short-sighted strategies of the political establishment. So while Democrats and their media mouthpieces react with predictable hysteria, Trump is basically outlining a very bold, visionary solution for Gaza that could bring real stability to the Middle East. And instead of leaving the region in perpetual chaos, he's proposing taking control, leveling the war-torn land, and rebuilding it into a thriving economic powerhouse, one that would create jobs, prosperity, and long-term peace. Now, of course, the left is too blinded by their own emotional outrage to recognize a strategic masterstroke when they see one. So instead of a endless conflict and destruction, Trump sees opportunity, a way to permanently remove the failed status quo and give displaced Palestinians a future beyond war. And he even lays out a funding plan that would have wealthy neighboring countries foot the bill here. This is a move only a true negotiator could actually pull off. But predictably, Democrats and their media allies will clutch their pearls, oh my God, ignoring the fact that Trump's proposal is the only one that actually removes the suffering and destruction that the people of Gaza have endured for decades. And so this leadership, this is vision. And as always, the left just can't comprehend it.
Remains from all 67 victims of the mid-air collision over Washington, D.C. have been recovered. Almost 1 week ago, an American Airlines regional plane and an Army Black Hawk helicopter crashed into the Potomac River. Officials say it'll take several more days to remove all of the wreckage.
Another tragic disaster unfolds, and once again, we see the predictable failures of bureaucratic oversight while the media essentially dances around the real issue. The devastating mid-air collision between an American Airlines passenger jet and a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter near Washington, D.C., it's left 67 people dead. And now the National Transportation Safety Board, the NTSB, they're basically scrambling to try and piece together what the heck went wrong here. But here's what we already know. The helicopter was flying above the 200-foot maximum altitude assigned to its flight path. This is a clear violation of its protocol. That's number one. Yet, instead of immediate accountability, we're getting the usual bureaucratic foot dragging, this pussyfooting along, vague statements about verifying data points and slow-moving investigations that conveniently avoid the tough questions. Now, if Trump were in charge there would be no dithering around. There would be immediate action, some real accountability, and a demand for answers, not endless probes and detailed timelines that ultimately lead us nowhere. Meanwhile, the Democrats and their media allies, they're going to do whatever they always do, really, which is overreact emotionally, push all sorts of distractions, and essentially refuse to acknowledge the failures in their own government-controlled agencies. And so this tragedy it really should serve as a wake-up call. But under this weak leadership, expect nothing but more delays, cover-ups, and excuses.
That seeks to impose maximum pressure on the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran Many of these provisions are similar to actions that your administration took during your first administration. The basic idea here is to have every department and agency, or many departments and agencies in your government attempt to sanction and control Iranian activities, particularly relating to the Iranian nuclear program and the Iranian export of terrorism through support of various proxy groups abroad. And the intent here is to give you all of the possible tools to, I'd say, engage with the Iranian government to ensure that going forward they're less of a malign actor on the world stage.
So this is one that I'm torn about. Everybody wants me to sign it. I'll do that. It's very tough on Iran. It's what we had before. We would have never had the problem. You would have never had October 7th. We would have never had the problem had the election gone the different way, which it should have. But this one, I think, more than made up for it. I think we're doing things, and it shows that more than made up for it, much more historic. The Iran situation, hopefully, I'm going to sign it, but hopefully we're not going to have to use it very much. We will see whether or not we can arrange or work out a deal with Iran, and everybody can live together, and maybe that's possible, and maybe it's not possible. So I'm signing this, and I'm unhappy to do it, but I really have not so much choice because we have to be strong and firm, and I hope that it's not going to have to be used in any great measure at all. It'd be great if we could have a Middle East and maybe a world at total peace. Right now you don't have that. When I left, you had peace all over the world, and now you have the world is blowing up. As you know, Bibi is coming in to see me later. Others are coming in to see me. We'll see what we can do. But I'm signing this, and hopefully it will be a document which won't be very important, will hardly have to be used.
So what kind of deal would you be prepared to
Well,
make?
we're going to see. I mean, we're going to see. They cannot have a nuclear weapon. With me, it's very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. We don't want to be tough on Iran. We don't want to be tough on anybody, but they just can't have a nuclear weapon.
Mr. President, are you going to engage in conversations with your counterpart in Iran?
I would.
Do you want to block the sale of Iranian oil to other nations?
Well, we have the right to do that, and that's what I did before, and they had no money. They wouldn't have had the money for Hamas or Hezbollah and anybody else. It could have been solved. This thing, it just, if things went the way they should have, this would have been over long ago, but it's not over.
How close do you think Iran is to developing a nuclear weapon?
I think they're close. I think they're close. They're too close. But again, you could go back 4 years. I would have said they would have had it during this intervening period. But they're pretty close, Peter.
And why say that you're unhappy to sign it if it's Iran and their proxies who have threatened to retaliate against you and your team by killing you guys for taking out Soleimani?
Well, they haven't done that, and that would be a terrible thing for them to do. Not because of me. If they did that, they would be obliterated. That would be the end. I've left instructions. If they do it, they get obliterated. There won't be anything left. And they shouldn't be able to do it. And Biden should have said that, but he never did. I don't know why, lack of intelligence, perhaps. But he never said it. If that happens to a leader, or close to a leader, frankly, if you had other people involved also, you would call for total obliteration of a state that did it. That would include Iran. So I'm signing this, and it's a very powerful document, but hopefully we're not going to have to use it.
Mr. President.
Wow, guys. So once again, President Trump demonstrates what real leadership looks like, guys. Decisive, strategic, and unapologetically strong here, guys. In a very chilling but necessary warning, Trump made it very clear that if Iran dares to assassinate him, it will face total obliteration. Now, unlike Biden, who has spent his presidency pretty much bending over backwards to appease Tehran, Trump is taking a very firm stance, leaving no room for doubt. He is not playing diplomatic games or pretending that endless negotiations will stop a rogue regime from acquiring nuclear weapons. It's not going to happen. Instead, Trump is tightening the screws on Iran's economy. He's cutting off their oil exports, and he's making sure that they understand that any attack on an American president, past or present, will be met with overwhelming force. Meanwhile, Democrats, they're, as usual, too weak, too emotional, too afraid to act. Biden had every opportunity to crack down on Iran's skyrocketing oil exports, but instead, he just pretty much let them flood the market, boosting their economy by the tune of billions of dollars while he continues his feeble, failed foreign policy. Even his own parties, figures like Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, they begged him to enforce the sanctions Trump had in place, but for whatever reason, Biden refused to do it. So this is the difference between strength and weakness, and between a leader who understands leverage and a Democrat administration that operates on fear and inaction. Iran isn't afraid of Biden, but Trump, they know better. I think they know better. And so that's why they're trying to undermine his 2024 candidacy, because they know when Trump is in power, America doesn't back down. Biden in 2023, he agreed to release $6 billion in frozen Iranian oil proceeds held by South Korea in exchange for the release of from prison of 5 Iranian Americans. I mean, Biden doesn't know the first step when it comes to negotiations, or even leadership for that matter.
As part of his initial 26 executive orders, President Trump signed a decree barring American agencies from recognizing any genders assigned from male and female.
It will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female.
There we go, guys. President Trump once again stepping up there where weak Democrats have failed, putting an end to the absurdity of biological men competing in women's sports. Can you guys believe that? Like, with this executive order, Trump is delivering exactly what he promised. He's restoring fairness and common sense to women's athletics while rejecting the radical left's gender ideology that has ultimately undermined Title IX. And unlike Biden, who essentially bend over backwards to redefine basic biological reality and the Bible itself, Trump is making it clear that science and the Bible and fairness still matters. In fact, the left, predictably, in its full meltdown mode, throwing emotional tantrums over a decision that simply protects female athletes from losing their scholarships, records, opportunities to men who have a clear, unfair physical advantage. And so while the media and activists scream about inclusion, Trump is prioritizing real equity, ensuring that women's sports remain for women. And the best part, he's doing it on day one. He's making sure that there's no room for the radical Biden era policies to creep back in. By the way, you guys just joining us on the live, appreciate you guys hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. So guys, this move is exactly why Trump won. Because while Democrats pander to activists, Trump actually delivers for the American people. And the left could they can just rage all they want. But at the end of the day, guys, fairness, biology, and common sense, this just got reinstated in sports, guys. And to me, that is a win for America in my book. If you guys appreciate the content, definitely hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Check out these previous videos coming up here, and I'll see you guys on the next one.